And welcome back to Closing Bell. Special edition today on the East African Budget Day. Kenya's Finance Minister Henry Rotich presented the East African nation's national budget for 2013-2014. And joining me to continue our discussion on the East African budget is Peterson Mwangi, who is MD of Finance and Systems Consultants. Welcome back there, Peterson. One thing we didn't get to when we were talking earlier there was inflation, which has declined consistently, as the Minister pointed out today. Just give us the context of inflation in Kenya in particular, and how you expect this kind of number to move in the next year to 2 years.
Thanks, David. I think one of the things we need to appreciate is that Kenya is an agricultural country, and a lot of our economic indicators are driven by agriculture. So when we have a challenge with the agriculture, inflation comes up. For example, when we had a spike, one of the things we had is we had some failure of our rains, and therefore the food costs went very high, and that really contributed a lot to it. And then we had a short spurt where there was a lot of speculation on the forex market, and this really pushed the cost of the Kenya shilling, and therefore being a country that heavily relies on imports, then definitely it was going to drive the cost of goods and services up.
You mentioned
and going for
carry on.
All right, so I'm saying going forward, one of the things that we need to remember is that the peaceful elections brought a very good economic climate, and people now are feeling nice about the economy, and they feel they can do business, and that kind of feeling actually promotes productivity, meaning that we are going to have lower rates of inflation. Secondly, we have enjoyed very good rains, and this has really brought down the cost of food and food items, and that is likely to continue. We are hoping that the government implements the 1 million acre agricultural irrigation project, and this is going to contribute a lot to food security and therefore to the long-term low inflation. And I think as a lot of these initiatives, and considering things like power, which has been one of the biggest challenges when it comes to the manufacturing sector, when we now start tapping into some of the clean energy sources like the geothermal, it's likely to bring down the cost of manufacturing, and therefore contribute to the lowering of inflation in the long term. So as it is right now, I think it can be held steady. It can be actually brought down a bit, and also with that we also have a lot of FDI coming in, and therefore that still will contribute to a lot of investment and therefore productivity, and therefore help to sustain the low inflation rates.
Well, that sounds pretty encouraging as well. Just on the agriculture sector, I'm very aware of the tea as part of the Kenyan economy in the agriculture sector. Cut flowers is another important export, and of course a lot of that depends on export demand. Is it a balanced agriculture system beyond that? Or is the agriculture sector vulnerable within itself, if you like, to fluctuations in the weather and to particular crops or products?
Tea happens to be our top foreign exchange earner. And therefore, when we talk about tea, the one challenge we have to realize is that it cannot be cultivated under controlled conditions like we do cut flowers. And therefore, when, like 2 years ago, when there was tea frost, we lost a lot of tea, and therefore we lost the opportunity to export that extra tea. And when we look at cut flowers, on the other hand, these flowers are grown under controlled conditions. They are grown under irrigation, and therefore controlling them is controlling the conditions under which they grow is much easier, and therefore you can reliably predict the productivity. the only thing in cut flowers you cannot control is the market. And we realize that when there was the downturn in Europe, which is our greatest market when it comes to flower exports, it really affected the prices of our cut flowers, and therefore naturally it brought down our foreign exchange earnings. When we look at the balance of our agricultural sector, really we have tea, cut flowers, but we have other products like coffee, which has been which was for a long time our main export, and therefore we have quite a number of products that we can export. Something else coming up very strongly is horticulture. Fruits and vegetables, they are coming up as a very strong export, and they are now being grown at the greenhouses, and now that is now boosting our foreign exchange income from agriculture as well. Now, when we actually now promote irrigation agriculture, then we are going to even diversify this offering much further to include things like maize and onions and this kind of stuff.